The Busbys may share their lives on OutDaughtered, but there are some things the cameras just don't have time to show, like how parents Adam and Danielle really managed to take care of all their daughters. Here are some of the ways these parents of 6 girls, including quintuplets, pull it off. With 6 kids, it's kind of amazing that Adam and Danielle ever managed to get any alone time, but they actually prioritize each other and their marriage. Though they've gotten quite a bit of backlash for all their date nights, the Busbys don't have any regrets. In fact, they believe that by prioritizing the health of their marriage, they are doing a world of good for their daughters. In a blog post on the family's It's a Buzzworld site, Danielle made it clear that they don't particularly care if people criticize them for their date nights. She explained, "We wholeheartedly feel like by taking care of our marriage first, we are doing what is best for our kids. One of the essential things that children need is a loving and secure home. And to us, that need can be met only by making sure the relationship between Adam and I is strong." For the Busbys, hiring a babysitter is essentially a necessity, and Danielle suggested other parents do the same, writing, "If you don't spend the time with your spouse, then you'll just fill it with something less important. My advice is to set a regular date night and get your babysitter scheduled ahead of time." Adam and Danielle have their hands full with their 6 children, but because one of those kids is older, they have a built-in helper of sorts, or second mama, as Danielle likes to call her oldest daughter, Blayke.
Because I'm just like my mom.
In an interview with Us Weekly, Danielle gave the okay to the interviewer to dub Blayke as the second mama to the Quints. Speaking to People magazine, she went even further, admitting that there's no way she and Adam could have done it without their oldest daughter. She explained, "I mean, I don't think we could have asked for anything better as far as the adjustment went. From the day that she found out that she was going to have 5 sisters, she played with 5 baby dolls at a time. She has been so hands-on. She'll say, 'Oh, let me get you the wipes.' She's so smart." Adam and Danielle do plenty of the caring for their quintuplets, but it doesn't hurt to have such a doting older sister like Blayke.
We're so blessed to have that little girl in our life.
When the Quints were babies, or learning how to walk, it may have been especially difficult to keep a close eye on each of them at all times. But the Busbys go one further and carve out time for each of their many daughters on a regular basis. Danielle told Country Living, "It will always be a challenge to balance 6 kids and make sure they each get one-on-one time. The most difficult part of having a large family is just the logistics of doing anything and everything. It takes some thought to do everything from cooking dinner to getting out of the house. Though it isn't easy, by spending quality alone time with each Quint, the Busbys show their daughters how loved they are as individuals." There's no one right way to parent, and no one parent is perfect. But when you have quintuplets, even just the thought of getting everything right every time sounds crazy. And for Adam and Danielle, being able to take things in stride is one of the ways they manage to take care of all their daughters. In an interview with People, Danielle explained that when things get overwhelming for them, the only thing they can really do is giggle and move on. She admitted, "You can only do as much as you can at that moment in time. Just being able to laugh about a situation like when all 5 babies are screaming is one of the things we've learned how to do." Of course, Adam and Danielle do the best they can, but you can't exactly control when babies start to fuss or when toddlers decide to have a full-out temper tantrum. Luckily, these parents have taught themselves to sometimes just let it go and laugh. Having quintuplets is a rare and life-changing event, to say the least. So it's only natural that Adam and Danielle would require some help adjusting to their new life with 6 daughters. Fortunately, they've had some great helpers over the years to assist.
When Danielle came home with all the babies, everybody's life has changed drastically.
As Danielle wrote in the family's It's a Buzzworld blog, the Busbys were able to attend a Mardi Gras parade thanks to their friends. She explained in the 2017 post, "This year the girls are full-on walkers, and there was no way that we could have been able to leave them cooped up in the strollers through the 2 parades. Luckily, we had a great group of friends that joined us for the day and helped us keep a nice little barrier around this crazy group of toddlers." Earlier, in a 2016 interview with Channel Guide magazine, Danielle revealed that her sisters and mother would be featured on OutDaughtered quite a bit, since they were around to regularly help with the young Quints. In big families, it can be easy for one child to get lost in the shuffle. This is especially true when you have 5 daughters who are all the same age and who all need something different from their parents. While you'd probably cut the Busbys some slack if they lumped some of the kids' needs in together, Adam and Danielle don't allow themselves to do that. In an interview with People, Danielle expressed how seriously she and Adam take it to make sure each Quint is getting what she specifically needs. She said, "As the Quints get older, they're becoming individuals with their own struggles, likes, dislikes, and opinions. parents. Danielle added that the decision to move Riley Page up to kindergarten ahead of her sisters wasn't easy, but they took each daughter into consideration before pulling the trigger.
R-I-L-E-Y.
What does that spell?
Me.
Danielle added, knowing where she's at right now, this was our decision based on her. Of course, we looked at the family and how this change affects everyone else. Adam and Danielle lean on their faith a lot, especially where their daughters are concerned. As Danielle wrote in a blog post, their belief system is also a guiding system for their parenting. She explained, "I am still in shock every day that I actually have 6 kids, and in awe that God chose me as the mother to these amazing little miracle girls. Though we as humans get to make our own decisions and say yes and no when we choose, as Adam and I are Christians, we look to the Lord for guidance in our decisions." It sounds like whatever the Busbys come up against in raising their girls, they plan to follow their faith. As many parents can attest, it's hard to know when to discipline your children and when to give them patience and understanding to figure things out. Add in some quintuplets and a half-dozen different personalities to the mix, and you've got the craziness that is the Busby household. Yet Danielle has learned an important lesson as it relates to managing the care of all her daughters: to give them grace. In an April 2020 blog post, Danielle wrote about how hectic things had been for her lately and how she's had to come to that conclusion for herself. She admitted, "There are days that I want to pull my hair out, there are days I feel like my girls are obedient, and then there are days I get the mom guilt because all I did was yell because no one cared to follow or listen to my parenting advice or guidance." However, she came to the conclusion that she needed to give grace to her children and her husband. After all, no child or spouse is perfect. If you have more than one child, it can be hard not to make it look like you play favorites. Even though you love your kids the same, there will be days when one particular child is extra clingy or needy, requiring more attention. When you're a family in the public eye like the Busbys, who constantly have people watching their every move, that task becomes nearly impossible. After Danielle received some harsh criticism for posting more photos of certain kids, she told In Touch that it doesn't mean she doesn't love her kids the same. She explained, "I feel like people choose to see what they want, and they base their response off of what they are dealing with in their own life. I 100% know my heart and my love for all my kids are equal. I may not get around to posting enough of something, but since when is love based off of how much we post on social media?" Without some form of discipline, one child could be difficult to manage, let alone 6. Although parents differ in how exactly to discipline little ones, the Busbys have found one method to be effective for their children. In one episode of OutDaughtered, Danielle admitted that she's had to learn that sometimes her daughters do things just to test her limits. She explained, "Riley is notorious for spilling her milk on purpose. She does it all the time. The girls are at that age where they're really testing boundaries, so we've started doing timeout for when they're bad."
Time out.
It's not fun to punish your kids, but the Busbys recognize that discipline is an important part of parenting. They feel that putting their daughters in occasional timeouts helps them manage the household while also teaching them the importance of listening to their parents. Every parent differs in how they organize their kids' schedules, and there are a million different philosophies out there about what is best for your kids. But for Adam and Danielle, having a strict schedule is key for taking care of all their daughters. This was especially true when it came time to bring the Quints home from the hospital. In an interview with People, Danielle explained that she and Adam relied on a system to get through their days with newborns. She said, "Everything has to be planned out, even something as simple as going for a walk, taking a bath, changing diapers." She explained in a blog post that she had a strict schedule for feeding as well. She wrote, "When the Busby quintuplets came home after being in the NICU for 12 weeks, we had to be organized when it came to feeding them around the clock." A rigid schedule might not work for everyone, but it definitely helped the Busbys. Danielle and Adam may seem like supermom and superdad to all their fans, but life with 6 daughters has presented more than its fair share of challenges. Though the Busbys handle all their daughters really well, there were still times when they felt completely in over their heads and barely got any sleep. Adam told People magazine, "I remember so many times where I would be laying in bed feeding a baby in the middle of the night, and I would be woken up by the sound of a bottle hitting the floor because I just completely fell asleep and dropped the baby's bottle. You're just running on empty, on no sleep, all the time." As crazy as it sounds, the Busbys were able to get through it together. Perhaps running on no sleep actually helped them manage their daughters better because they became even more of a team. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more list videos about your favorite reality stars are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.